So yeah, it's weightless, it's frictionless, it's without any wrongness or offness in this reality. That is what it's like to have schizophrenia. It's a state of complete frictionless existence because there's no suffering, there's no error detection, there's no self-monitoring, and there's no monitoring between objects. There's no differences between objects because to see something as different, you have to conclude it as wrong or as, in a way, off. So, A does not equal B. My chair does not equal my car. My body does not equal Sam's body, etc. There's a form of friction which schizophrenic people lack, and that's why they cannot experience suffering. Because to experience suffering, there has to be friction. There has to be a way, offness or wrongness in terms of, contradiction. Holding contradictive beliefs feels off. The beliefs, they get resolved, or there is a sort of wanting of that resolution. But in schizophrenia, there is no such a thing as friction because the part of the brain responsible for error monitoring goes off. It goes silent, or in some extreme cases, it is destroyed. It's in a way worse than amygdala lesion because the amygdala lesion patients, they at least, can't feel, fear. They can feel pain, they can feel wrongness, but they cannot feel fear. But someone with a complete lack of error detection, that type of person has no self-monitoring. They have no negativity. They have no feedback loop. If they make a mistake, the mistake was never made. If they see something off, the offness was never there. The oddness never existed. That's why they're so odd. It's kind of paradoxical. The less you care about being odd, the more odd you become. And that's why people with schizophrenia are so odd, because there's no oddness in their mental field to utilize. In other words, being odd is not the result of having odd thoughts, because to even conclude your own thoughts as odd, you have to be capable of experiencing oddness, which they lack because there's no friction. And if there's no friction, there's also no pain. There's no emotional suffering. And so really, they're very similar to psychopathy, where even morality does not exist, because to have morals, you need to have some value system. And there must be a friction between your value system and what actually happened and what you actually done, which people with schizophrenia cannot compute. Now, yes, it's not a complete lack of, all friction, but it's a significant reduction in all frictions, in all types of frictions. And that really affects, everything. It affects, visual processing. It affects emotional processing. It affects auditory processing. It affects abstract processing. It affects almost everything. And it's in a way a weightless existence. It's in a way what Buddha calls free of suffering. Escaping suffering is actually a schizophrenic state. To escape suffering, there needs to be some form of schizophrenia or some form of lack of wrongness to things, to attribute, to things. There's no wrongness to attribute to anything, and that's what causes us suffering when we attribute oddness or wrongness to things. Now, of course, that's not the entire story. Of course, the aversive system is, as important, or even, in some cases, even more important than just the error detection monitoring. But that's the closest thing we have to suffering, are just those two systems we have in our brain. So yeah, that's what I think.